meetings that we.
And just let me make one comment for everybody here, so we got some new members here. This meeting is being recorded, live streamed, and is open to the public, so just keep that in mind in the comments that you make. Great, thank you. Here's the county exec.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I know it pretty much came here unannounced. I like doing that, keeping everyone on their toes. But there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of stuff we've been working on. We want to share more with the public, and we're back channeling with the board. We have a lot of interest in the properties, and we got A, B, and C going. So being live stream, I don't want to get into the meetings that we've been having up here, where we're going exactly with different agencies, but my goal is mixed use of this property, best use, but most importantly, paying off the bonds and helping to maintain the property. There's a lot of buildings, a lot of square footage, a lot to maintain, and we're paying the bills for everything, not just for the bonds, but for the maintenance and everything else. And every time we want to hire a consultant, and so it's something that I'm going to be on top of until we find that mixed use and start getting anchor tenants in here and really get into it. We've talked about some housing because that's very important to the chair of the legislature, Joanne Cunningham, the deputy chair, Wanda Willingham, and the majority leader, Dennis Feeney. We talked about housing over 55 for seniors, some of the housing, but it's hard because a lot of these buildings have access to a beautiful backyard. That's the College of St. Rose, so it's finding that mixed use that works. My office has been contacted by not just a lot of businesses, but dentist offices, dermatologists, lawyers that would love buildings, but then you start giving up the buildings, where's your house going? As Kevin knows, walking through these buildings. As you know, my attorney, Jeff Jameson, will talk more about it, but one of the things that we are looking at the county to take over some of the more problematic buildings. But I will assure everyone in this room, even with us, everything's for sale. If there's a better use for it, better people to bring into the fold, we're ready to move, and I'm looking at the buildings that are problematic that are going to be hard to redevelop, like the library. So that's why we made a proposal to take the library, the gym, building 5, the Her Center. I walked around with Sheriff Apple and his team, because we were doing shuffling. So we were here all day yesterday looking at different buildings and kind of identified what that works for his operations and maybe like a public safety compound here. They're not going to be patrolling, but you're going to have a ton of law enforcement here going on, walking the campus, walking the community, driving around. As you know, it was important, and I said this to Kevin, to keep the security intact. To maintain the properties and maintenance. As you know, that I had my DPW come in and start cleaning up initially in the beginning because I want the residents here, but people that drive through this community know that this property is going to be the same, if not better. So that's been so important to us in the maintenance, which I was just talking to this gentleman here earlier about the maintenance. There's a lot of moving mechanisms, and there's one thing I've talked to Nick and I've talked to Kevin offline. And I apologize, there's a lot of it I can't put out there, the world of confidential agreements, and I don't want to, say something until it's done, until we finalize the deal. But if this one anchor tenant doesn't work out, that's great, because I got 2 more, and there's another direction we're gonna go in. My goal, and again, we're paying these bonds off as quick as we can. And really make it a property as I shift county agencies here that work for us. I free up space in our courthouse, which means OSD is going to pay for that rent. I'm going to take money in there, and as I sell my probation building and move them somewhere else in the area, not here, make that very clear. These agencies will move here, will be like more administrators that don't frontline see people day to day that are here. We're waiting on the Joseph's building. If that's not taken, I want to move our finance office here, buy that building. And by I say buying it, I think if you read the charter, it basically states, Jeff, or your attorney can jump in. We had the right to take any building we want for $1. We're paying for everything. The county's backing everything. But any money that I buy in a building, I'm just paying the bonds. So any transition that my Jeff and my team's going to talk about, we're paying off the bonds of the fair market price for these buildings and paying that off. Because again, I'm paying the bill either way, so I want to just make sure the quicker I pay off the bonds or take care of maintenance, and as I have more county people there, we have the right as a county to come in and help maintain legally and do everything. We moved our veterans department and our aging department into the bottom floor of the gym, just to get that going. Got the pool ready, everything, the room is going, which is interesting because we got to look at it. We want to get that building. I worked at it, for the on-ramps, which we worked with and announced with the governor. Not last year, but a couple months ago. We got a grant that we want to apply for. We need to own the building to apply for the grant. I'll just share it this way. We got the host community center, and through bankruptcy court and everything, we ended up paying $725,000 for it, but we got a grant from the state for 1.8. Do the math. So it's the same thing I'm doing, but every dollar that I make is going to go back, paying off the bonds, because I owe it to the taxpayers. And this property, I've said this to Danielle, and I heard she had her baby, so congratulations, Mom, and the baby are both healthy, which is so important. This is a county project. It's not the city of Albany, it's not the Pine Hills Neighborhood Association, which we do want to listen to them, but I have an obligation to the taxpayers of the county. And that's why, like, and Kevin will tell you, the arguments we have, or debates, or with Nick, the debates we have, I know in my head, but I can't say this at this meeting, and say privately, we're in an executive session, what we need to do to make this work. And once I get there, then, the rest of it just all falls in place. But the reality is that, I know being tax exempt, I had to check that out. 501c does not matter. If it's a nonprofit, they're a 501c, we can charge them as much rent as we want, it doesn't matter. Anyone over that's not a 501c, then we would have to, the variation with the IRS, and I think it's 5 or 10% of the bonds that are left over. I'm learning more stuff than I needed to. Private use. More things than I need to know. But we all did a good job here, and at the end of the day, we all know what this is going to look like. And I'll say this publicly, I don't want to get bogged down like we do in government, like this college did, doing study after study. There's more studies when I go through filing cabinets that they did on how to fix a building or what we need. I'm not disagreeing with bringing in an engineering firm or whatever. My argument is I got to pay the bill. So of course I have a vested interest because I'm not wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars to tell me what I already know. Once I get past these companies that I'm dealing with that want to come here, then it gets a little bit trickier when you get into the single family homes and stuff like that. You have buildings that were built for a college that is almost impossible to use for anything else. That's the hardest evaluation of this whole property. And, figuring that use out, that's why I thought it'd be great to move the sheriff's out, because the valuation is saving money down there, moving other agencies here, filling in the gaps, like with the library, which I have announced, and I said this, we're starting to work on a senior center. City of Albany does not have a senior center. And I will say this, even if I'm live streaming, because Mary's not here and she'll have a heart attack, I have a company that's going to invest $500,000. We're going to do a state-of-the-art facility for grandparents that have kids, because I'm one of them that has to pick up my granddaughter every Wednesday by no choice. I'll say, my wife's not here, yes, I wanted to. I have no choice. Every Wednesday I got to get her and help out with my daughter. There's parents like me in the same situation, grandparents, that we can't let them into the senior center side, but we make an interactive side so the kids can play, and it'll be the state of the art, better than any place in the capital district, in my opinion. I'm done with it. We've had restaurants reach out to us, brew pub, barbecue place, some restaurants that want to do wedding destinations here. So it's all starting to fall in place, but I just, and I've said this to Nick and Kevin, and some of the other board members, I just don't want to get bogged down in studies. I don't need people to come in and tell me what we do need, Kevin, right? The engineering of all the HVAC being one. What's it going to cost? One thing we can't figure out, what's a fair share if we sell a building, or if they got to use our services and they're going to use the grounds? What's that? I'd say AOH. That's, what's your fee going to be monthly to me to help us maintain the grass, the facility, and that take up the variation of what I'm paying every month, which is great. But that, you would have to bring someone in to figure all that out, electric, all that stuff, billing. I had been a fanatic walking here at night times at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I was just telling him, Kevin said, "You're the one turning the lights and heat off?" I go, "Yeah, I'm paying the bills. Most of these buildings are still 85 degrees and it's driving me back crazy because, yeah, I'm paying it. So when I walk in a building and I'm reading the thermostat and it says 85 or 75, yeah, which the library is still at 85. I'd love to get someone in there again to turn the heat off because we don't need heat on it. It's a lot of easy, so it's sort of crazy. But as things get done, we'll let people know how things are going. But again, the properties that I'm pursuing are ones that, again, at the end of the day, are always for sale. Because, but I need to get anchor tenants in here and I'm paying off a bill, which legally under the apparel area, and I know you know this as your attorney, my attorney will say this, we can take any building for $1. That's why I wrote it the way we did, because we paid for it. Why would I double pay for it, right? But the quicker I pay them bonds off, and the way I can do that is moving agencies in there. So I just want everyone to understand, especially the board members, that again, trying to figure it out. And unfortunately, I'm seeing colleges across the state of New York, across this country closing, but the pharmacy did the smart thing with Sage and merged before they got to that point, which is great. But I also see a lot of so much money misspent here, and I'll say this publicly, on things they didn't studies. I don't need someone to come in and tell me something to do. I've been doing the shop for 14 years, been changing the county agency, and I'll say this, when it took over, we were borrowing $15 million a year in payroll. We had $20 million in our reserves, and we amortized state retirement to the tune of $40 million. We're well into over $90 million in our reserves, and we don't borrow money, and we pay back the $40 million to the state of New York, and we're healthier by making fiscal conservative choices, moving government forward and doing what's right. And that's how I'm treating this project like I did in 2012 when I took over the county and reshook it. Yes, that's my vested interest, because at the end of the day, when I run for re-election in 2027, I'm answerable to the taxpayers of this county that are gonna say, city people are happy we did this. You go outside the city, I take a lot of heat, because people in Colony or Bethlehem or Gilman, some are great. Most people are like, why are we doing this? It's a great $1 million question. Someone had to, Kevin, I give him credit, him and his team. We sat there, we both were like, it's really not in our scope to do this. Should have been the city. They didn't do it, we did it. Hats off to Kevin and his team, to the board members here for putting them together, to everyone involved, to my team. It made it possible. And, again, someone had to step out, because after what I saw what happened at Dome Stewart when we were working on that beautiful piece of property, I didn't want to see this happen to the house of St. Rose. I will let you know this too when they have a request to the board. We need to preserve some of this history, which breaks my heart as I walk through these buildings. And I'm not happy with the way they shuttered this building. I will tell you this publicly, privately, and openly. The stuff that's been left behind, it's just, it could make you cry. But I want to preserve the history, and I want to have like a place for kids that graduated here, that are adults, that bring their kids through, visit in the area. There's like a museum or some type. I said this to Kevin, that they can come and they can see some pictures or some stuff, the artwork that's left behind. It's very important to me. And we had a lot of outreach from former students, now well into adults, and some people with money that want to make sure. And one of the things I did say is I want to make sure we preserve the names on all the buildings that we can, because these people donated a lot of money to put their name on the building. And I can't stand it like you see in Little League when, God forbid, someone donates the name of the field after their father, and 10 years later, we rename it for someone else, regardless that they paid to have their name on there. I think it's important to keep some of the legacy in the buildings, and that was the debate I had with the legislature, and Kevin and I talked about this. College of St. Rose, I'm like, how do you change the name? One, it costs crap load of money. Attorneys like it, you'll like it. People on the outside that will love filing and changing the name. I go, eventually be maybe St. Rose campus or the St. Rose property. But you know how much money it costs to change that on them signs? Again, I'm thinking because I'm paying the bill. And if I wasn't, I'd probably be like, yeah, change the name. For now, no, it's just crazy. And it is the College of St. Rose, you know, but maybe Kevin, you came up with some other things, but you can't change it. And all the signage there go there and change every sign and spend all that money is just crazy when we need money to maintain the properties. Some of these buildings, need some TLC that they haven't gotten in years for whatever reason, and some mechanicals we gotta fix, which is important, so, yeah, I'm just letting you know where I'm at. And again, my door is always open for the board members to talk to me, I have talked to you, I just wanna make my vision clear. I understand that you gotta bring certain people in to do certain things. Yes, it's not being disrespectful to you, or to John, or Kevin, to all the board members. It's the fact that sometimes I sit there, I just see price tags, and I do the same thing to my staff every day. I go, do we know what we need to do? Do I need to waste money for someone to tell me to do what we need to do? We love to do that in government. I just don't want to get bogged down on that. There's, as Kevin knows, and Nick, when I talked to him, all the parties interested. So when we get past all that, get the anchor tenant and all that, then yeah, you're probably gonna need help to, figure out housing. There's 3 people that contacted us, one who did housing down south with another campus, college, redid it. We've worked with the state. They got historical grants they want to give us and other grants to help with housing. And the best part is that we don't have to comply with the city of Albany code enforcement or any of their agencies or the rules the common council passed. Because we're authority, it's owned by the county, we have our own codes. So I can assure you this, when I did a $90 million addition on my nursing home, and put an $8 million daycare on for my worker in the town of Albany, I didn't have to go through the town. Now, I did, out of respect, follow some of the process just to be nice, but at the end of the day, we don't have to. And I think that's important as we redevelop, and people that have reached out to Kevin and myself are so interested in that because, as you know, the city's crippled right now. So that's where we're at. I know I'm being very vague, and I wish I could tell you the people I'm sitting down or talking to, but I can't. I know, and there's now I can say there's big interest from a big company way outside the state of New York that is very interested in coming to the College of St. Rose, which that's going to take about a year. And with our senior center for seniors, there's 2 huge initiatives I'm going to announce with that. That again, that will be here for the campus for people to come. But again, working on the rest of it, and I said this to Kevin. 2 things have driven a lot of interest and requests. When I talk to people. 3, they love the college, they love the campus setting and the area it's in. And they go, you kept the security intact. Yep. The sheriff's moved in there. Yep. When you hear them 2 things, they go, are you getting rid of security? And you go, nope. Is the sheriff gonna leave? I go, nope. They go, okay, we're very interested in doing this. And a bunch of other agencies that have reached out to us about coming in. So, and then there are decisions you gotta make. But my thing is the harder buildings and figure that out. So where I'm at. I'm here for any questions. If anyone has anything that I can answer without being too vague.
Thank you. Really glad you came. I appreciate your interest showing up and giving us your vision because it's important.
He yelled at me, that's why I'm here. And walks everywhere.
Now, one thing we talk about is having a leadership committee. Meet once in a while, Dan, myself, and Kevin, and the key staff members, just so we constantly know what each other's involved with, so we can all be on the same page and make it all happen, and make Dan's vision work smoothly and quickly.
The same thing as Kevin, like we little men, like I get to the point, then I send it over to the expert. Now we got it. And I'm like, here you go, we'll figure it out. Now, it's always good on my ends, and then Kevin's like, well, man, and I'm like, he has to do the cross the T's and dot the I's. But once I get to a certain point with somebody that's interested, then I'm like, here you go. Now you gotta talk to the person that's gonna make this all happen here and decide it. So thank you.
Really appreciate you coming today.
No, thank you.
Very great. It's great.
run out, I have a family week in the funeral I have to go to. But I wanted to, which my wife wouldn't be watching this, she's not happy that I told her I'd meet her at the church. But I said I wanted to come here because after talking to Nick and other members, I thought it was important to come and just, again, my door's open. Kevin knows my number, he can share it with you. If you got any questions, concerns, you want to talk offline, I can. You know, and I apologize being vague. But I've learned since working with this guy, I mean, I'm like, I sign my life away more in confidential agreements, and I'm like, you know, no one wants to talk about anything publicly until it's ready. But I asked the sheriff yesterday, like, you know, when we start going down the road to come in and talk about it, what they're doing here. There's no, you know, there's gonna be, you know, there's gonna be no one being fingerprinted here. There's gonna be no one being locked up here. It's all his mailing investigative units and administrative staff that will be coming out of the courthouse, which OCA is so happy about because they have so much space down there. Which, again, and it's a win-win to pay off some of these buildings and get ready. Which I do realize I can't pay a bond off for 6 months. I was told 6 months without a penalty, but my goal, and they said again, is my next day in the county to say, hey, you paid it all off with a close payment. And, you know, which the government would like to get the hand down the road and not pay for things for 30 years.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for all your work, all of you.
We're gonna get into the governance committee meeting. Allison has a hard and fast 11:30 I believe, and we have a minimal quorum. Before you leave, we're done. If we have to, we can adjourn. But let's try to move it along. I'm opening the meeting of the governance committee. And I'm going to take roll call. Jasmine Higgins has been excused. I am here. Mr. Nigro is here. Sarah is here. Alejandra is not present at the present time. Allison is here. And Danielle, you know, just having a baby a couple days ago. She's not here, but Kevin and the company did send something over there on our behalf. We appreciate that. So I just want to remind you, we have a minimal quorum. For a quorum, if we lose anybody, we're in trouble. So I don't want to rush things, but I want to move it along. So the first, and I am the acting chair due to the fact that Jasmine could not make it today. In your packet, you have the minutes of the January 9th meeting, and I would call for a resolution to approve those. So Mr. Knight, second, Allison. Any discussion of those minutes? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, approved. We're going to verify report requirement public document postings on our website. Mr. Owens, can you cover that, please?
So I'll briefly talk about that in place of Amy, who's not here today. So late last month, we did an audit, I did an audit of the website against the 49 requirements that the ABO has for what should be publicly posted. We didn't get everything. Cooperstown, we were about 2 for 3. But we're getting now down, I think we're down to about 3. So we're almost fully compliant. I want the board to know we're working on it. I had an email with Sarah today. I think, you know, by this afternoon, I think we'll be full. And we'll be 100%. So, and to be fair, a lot of this is because this is the first time we filed Paris reports. It's the first time we had an annual audit. So in some sense, this is the staff catching up and putting it on the website. I would say almost everything from a board perspective, the resolutions, all of our policies, everything like that was on, and I looked at it, and has always been on. So anyways, that's the report. Sure.
Okay. The next item is an executive session. It will be brief. I would like the board members, Mr. Owens, to remain in an executive session. I would ask for a resolution.
Yes, sir.
Robert.
So this would be to discuss board governance issues and also the potential appointment or retention of certain individuals or corporation. So that's the reason for the executive session. If we could get a first and a second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? No. Everyone's gonna have to leave this. We won't be that long.
Request a second.